Alright, so hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see the cards, because these cards are very small on my screen, like really small, like way smaller than a penny small. But anyway, this is my artifact wall deck. Basically, you're walling, right? Putting up a strong defense to make it harder for your opponent to get at your life points while you spam them with your artifacts and other cards of choice. Alright, so we got construction, train, signal red. When your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand and force that monster to attack signal red instead, and signal red can't be destroyed as a result of battle. You can set it, obviously, and it can't be destroyed by battle. Special summon it from your hand, it can't be destroyed by battle, so it's good usually to summon it from the hand, but sometimes there's a condition where, like, let's say your opponent has a monster, like Judging Spiritual or something like that, or Christie or something, where it's like, oh, you can't, special summon. It's like, yeah, setting him would be very good. Would be a very good idea. Because in those cases you can't special summon them. But typically you want to keep them in your hand and special summon them, when your opponent, thinks, oh, he's wide open, he has nothing, I summon a whole bunch of monsters, enter battle, attack. It's like, alright, red, signal red, not OTK me, and you already, overextended, you already used up all your resources. So now it'll be my turn, boom, boom, my turn. Let's say I go into like a little synchro play, or an exceed play, go into Exciton Knight, pop your field or something, or Black Rose play, pop your fields, you know what I mean? Or just Hot Red Dragon Arch, Red Dragon, yeah, Hot Red Dragon Archery, pop your field, that type of stuff, right? It's like, you thought you were going to OTK me, but you didn't. So that's the usefulness of him. Plus I could go into a rank 3 play with him. I can use him as tribute fodder for the artifact monsters. Super Heavy Samurai Waka 02 Oni. Waka 02, Waka Waka. Because he's 02, I say it twice, Waka Waka. When he's normal summon or special summon, you can switch his battle positions to whichever position you want. Typically you want him in defense mode because he has 2,000 defense. He has this card cannot be destroyed by battle effect. Obviously you see the theme of the deck. He's a 2,000 can't be destroyed by battle, that's always good. And he has 0 attack, which means you can machine dupe him, yeah. But you can also bring him back with the Breeze Dragon, go into rank 4 play. When they errata the Breeze Dragon, you can go into a star synchro play and go into your Stardust or your Hot Red Dragon Archfiend play, right? So he'll have extra uses once they errata him, other than just other than just a rank 4 play, which is typically what I use him for. But once they errata him, then I can synchro with him, and that'll just be extra icing on the cake, right? Marshmallow, because he can't die by battle. If he is attacked while face down, your opponent takes 1,000 points of damage. And he's a Breeze Dragon target, since he has 300 attack, and I could go into a Black Rose play. And of course I can go into a rank 3 XYZ play with another 3-star with him. The Dark Resonator. I needed a tuner, preferably a 3-star. Also needed to be dark, so I went with Dark Resonator because it has a once per turn can't be destroyed by battle effect. So that way it can, still be part of the deck's concept and still give me the 3-star tuner that I need for synchro play. I could also use it for XYZ play, but typically it's for synchro play because the goal is to create Belzy of the Dark Diabolic Dragons, which can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, so he fits the deck's concept, right? Plus he's awesome, why not, right? Then we got the artifacts. Artifact Scythe, special summon during opponent's turn. Your opponent can't summon from their extra deck, which can shut down a lot of decks. Artifact Achilles Shield, they changed the name. I noticed that about some of the cards, the names were changed. Achilles Shield, when he's special summoned during opponent's turn, your opponent can't can't target artifact monsters for attacks. Then we got Artifact Agus. That name's still the same. When it's special summon during opponent's turn, Your opponent can't target artifact monsters with card effects. Right? Let me double check. Control cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn. Yep. So that's good against JD, Black Rose, Exciton Knight, stuff like that. I typically, will use Artifact Sanctum, for example, to bring out Artifact Aegis when somebody tries to do a JD, play, so I can reduce the amount of damage I would take that turn. Let's pretend hypothetically they have 3 JDs, right? They drop 1 JD, they activate their effect, I chain, bring out Aegis in defense mode, of course, 2500 defense, bring out Aegis, right? That resolve, JD's effect kicks in, destroying everything else on the field, but Aegis, since he can't be destroyed, still be on the field. It wouldn't matter if my opponent pays another 1,000 because nothing's going to happen. I must still be on the field. So then they will have to drop the other JDs, but they have to waste one of the JD attacks to get rid of my Aegis with an attack, just to attack me directly with the other 2 JDs, right? Which will only be 6,000. It won't be a 9,000 OTK type of scenario. So they lost 1,000. They're not OTKing me, right? Just because I summon Aegis, and then they're going to end up milling 12 cards off the top of the deck during the end phase unless they XYZ summon a monster, you know what I mean? Which there are rank 8s they can use, so they can do that. But I notice a lot of players don't tend to do that. They allow themselves to mill because they want the power of JD, I guess. So that tends to be funny. But it's a little combo, a little strategy, a little idea you can do to take down JD. Another thing you can do is you can obviously bring out Moral Attack. Moral Attack has the effect that when it's special summon your opponent's turn, you can destroy 1 face-up card. I used to think it was monster. Let me double check. 1 face-up card your opponent control. Yeah, and when I found out it was card, I was like, oh shit. So many uses for that. Like a pop field spell, like a save zones, shit like that. You know what I mean? Cards of that nature. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's good to know. I always thought it was just monsters, which was fair enough. But then when I found out, I was like, oh, any face-up card. Oh, yeah, that's powerful. That's why in the OCG is limited to 1 on their list. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, you can summon Moral Attack, Pop JD, Exciton Knight, things of that nature. Stuff that would still survive after a destruction effect, or mass destruction effect, I should say. You might want to make sure they don't have anything on their side of the field that they can attack you with or continue spamming you with, like a JD, for example. You know what I mean? You can take down their JD. It's like, oh, you pay 1,000 to destroy everything? Well, since I didn't have much of anything, I'll do this. Bring out Moral Attack, pop your JD. Now the field is clear. There's nothing here. Unless you have another JD, you're not dealing me no damage this turn. You know what I mean? You paid 1,000 for almost nothing. That type of scenario. You can set it up that way. Soul Charge helps you get into your quick XYZ plays or your synchro plays, but mainly it's good just for walling. Pay 1,000, bring back one of your monsters that can't die in battle. You know what I mean? Boom, instant defense, right? Double Cyclone, Artifact Ignition. I love the original name, Movement better. Regeki Break, Artifact Sanctum. I had no problem with the original name, even though it was hard to pronounce. I still had no problem with it. I liked it. But they changed to Artifact Sanctum, which is easier to pronounce. Whatever. It still does the same thing, right? Staples, the stuff that you can spam with. And the Breeze Dragons, so you can go into your little the Breeze Dragon plays, you know what I mean? Go into your targets. Wind up Zen Main, good defense, plus it helps you destroy anything you need to get rid of. Especially during your opponent's turn, because Zen Main is not that bad against your opponent. In case, let's say you go up against another artifact deck, it's pretty decent because if they try to do something to Zen Main during their turn, you'll use Zen Main's effect during their end phase, pop one of their face down cards, which probably is an artifact monster, and make it inert because it can't do nothing during your opponent's turn. It can only do stuff during your turn. That's just an example. Exciton Knight. Definitely is a good card to use, especially during your opponent's turn. Even in a mirror match, like an artifact mirror match, because when your opponent comes at you, you know, when you have Exciton, it's like, really though? You ain't paying attention to the fact you have more cards than me? Exciton's effect. Pop everything. Yeah, since it's your turn, none of your artifact cards get their effects, but all mines do. Spam, 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 right? Bring out a Moral Tech, kill the monster you try to use to kill my Exciton Knight with, right? That type of stuff. Plus he's broken, so that's why you play him. Number 101, Silent Honor Arc, because he's broken, that's why you play him. Corn, in case somebody has an Exciton Knight or a number 101 or Zen Main Order, or a monster that can't be destroyed by battle that has 2100 less attack, you could take them down with Corn, and that extra 1000 damage could potentially beat them. So that makes it awesome. Castel, the Avion Sky Blaster, the generic Chidori of every deck, right? So that's what he's there for. Get rid of anything that can't be destroyed by battle, like your opponents, you know, those the Diabolic Dragons, that type of good stuff. Artifact Durando, it's like the assault mode of your deck, right? So he's an artifact, obviously, got a really good effect. That's why he's in there, and you can make him, obviously. Pleiades, very good card, can be made by the deck, obviously. I would have had M7 in here for the Pleiades loot, but I never really needed to do the loop before, so it wasn't a big deal to have it in there. So I wanted some other options. So since I do good with just Pleiades by himself, that's why he's in there. Without M7, Power Zectron, because he has a really good effect. Can't be destroyed by battle card effects. You take no damage the turn he synchro summons, so that's really good. He's a 2500 6-star. Black Rose Dragon. That's for the Breeze Dragon. Clear the field. That way your opponent has nothing. You can set up all your good stuff. Moonlight Rose Dragon instead of Ancient Fairy Dragon. Just because you never know, you might need this effect. Sometimes destroying is not a useful effect. Sometimes just bouncing something that your opponent controls back to his hand is better. Like bouncing a Drago Sack or something, that is better, right? Typically, that's what I use it for, to get rid of like stuff like Draco Sack, Bell's Z, Shooting Star Dragon. You know what I mean? Because you know, Shooting Star Dragon could just negate your attack, right? So it's like I can never run it over because it would just keep negating my attack. So the best thing to do is just to bounce it off the field, right? Get rid of that Shooting Star Dragon. Stardust Dragon, when they read the Breeze, will be easily summoned by the Breeze. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, same thing with the Breeze. Stardust is good against the Artifact Mirror Match, against most other decks that have destruction card effects. Obviously Stardust is good against that because there's a lot of destruction cards out there. So you want to make sure you have a way of stopping. Cute little tip is that Stardust has a decent defense. 2000 is pretty decent. So summoning it in defense mode, if you're just going to use it for its effect, so that way you could avoid number 101. You could avoid somebody just like, oh, summon 101, steal your Stardust. You know, so be careful. Be careful with that. You know what I mean? That's an interesting thing, is that you have to do that. You have to kind of plan ahead. You have to anticipate a 101 play. So sometimes you gotta play against 101. Now, granted, they could just summon 101 and run Stardust over, but think about it. They had to run Stardust over as opposed to just stealing it like they normally would and attack you directly. So you're forcing them to waste their 101 just to run over your Stardust. So that's a good thing, because then you'll just 101 your opponent, and then he'll be mad because he has no 101 to 101 you. You get the idea. Even if he has a second 101, it's still a waste. But of course, then you got your Corn, your comeback Adam, you know, the idea is to set your opponent up. Because sometimes you gotta force them to do stuff. Sometimes you gotta make them Dark Hole. Like summoning Colossal Fighter as opposed to Stardust. Because I used to summon Stardust anticipating a Dark Hole, but the thing is, common sense. Somebody's not going to play Dark Hole when you have Stardust. because they know you can negate it, so they don't waste time doing that. But if you summon something that can't be just runned over and destroyed by battle, like Colossal Fighter, they will play Dark Hold. So like I'd rather summon Colossal Fighter, have it get Dark Hold, right? That way Dark Hold is gone, and then later, do what I got to do. You start us for something more important, like a Mirror Force or something, or Trenchel, Bottomless, whatever. Niku. Hot Red Dragon Archfiends, so I can take down my opponent's attack base OTK. In case he tried to OTK me, and then I dropped a construction train signal red on their side of the field. I mean, on my side of the field, of course. Dropped it on them. Now they can't, OTK me unless they have, piercing effect. But typically they won't be able to OTK me because it's just regular attacks. And then, unless they have, Red Dragon Archfiend, that would suck, right? But typically that won't happen. Typically you will be able to stop an OTK with signal red, and then you could come back at your opponent and go into a synchro play. Like for example, once the Breeze Dragon gets errata, you can use the Breeze Dragon to go into a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend and destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters, and then attack them directly for 3,000. Gotta love that. Colossal Fighter, he's good in general. He forces your opponent to have to use destruction effects because attack, battle related, it means nothing. Like attacking them won't mean nothing. Summon a whole bunch of monsters is not a big deal. They have to have an effect that can permanently keep Colossal Fighter in the graveyard, because if not, he's just going to come back. He's 28 unless he gets a power boost from warriors in the graveyard, but typically he'll just be 28. So he's good to bunk heads with another 28, because then he'll just come back after that. And if you're the one who attacked, then since he came back, the ruling is when a monster leaves the field and comes back, especially during battle, it's considered a new monster, so that monster can attack that turn, so you can attack with Colossal Fighter. So you can bunk heads with a 28 and then attack it directly with Colossal Fighter. I always like doing that. Belzy, the Diabolic Dragons, because he came destroyed by battle card artifacts. He's 3,000, gotta love that, and he gets stronger when you take damage. So obviously you can use him to spam your opponent, and he fits the deck's style of walling, putting up a really strong defense. Sometimes the best defense is a strong offense, right? So a monster that's both good defensively and offensively, can't go wrong with that. That's a lovely card. Hopefully this fixes itself. Please don't mess up with me, because I still got one more card to go through. Come on. Hate computer problems, which is why I'm using this small little netbook, borrowing somebody else's netbook. Come on, hurry up. Alright, well, you should know what Air Knight Kershaw does. Avenging Air Knight Kershaw, it's a 6-star, it's an 8-star, 2600 monster with piercing. Once per turn, you can switch the battle position of a monster. He requires a light non-tuner to make. The artifacts are light non-tuners, and you got the 3-star Dark Resonator tuner, and you use them to. He's mainly in there for when you're going up against the Cosmic Dragons or the Zing Zang Zang Ying, whatever they call them now. I hate that they changed the name. Cosmic Dragons were just fine. Definitely much easier to pronounce. So you will use his effect to switch the battle positions of the monsters, so that way they're in a position where zero is, they're either in defense mode with 0 defense, or they're in attack mode with 0 attack, so that we can attack and deal 2,600 points of damage. Which is, the main point. You trying to deal damage to your opponent and kill them. It's usually hard to do that with typical decks, because your opponent, more likely is going to set one of those Cosmic Dragons in defense mode. You'll attack it, then it'll just replace itself with another monster. So it's almost like you did nothing, and it's like, wow, really? It's like, I can't reduce your field by attacking. I actually make your deck work better by attacking. But if I don't attack, I don't deal damage. If I don't deal damage, I don't win. You know what I mean? That catch-22 scenario, right? So there he is, Avenging Knight Patrol. It's a catch-22 thing, so it's like, yeah, I gotta deal damage. So piercing will be a very important effect to have in a monster in your decks that, you know, you can call upon to help you deal with that scenario where, you know, your opponent is defending himself, walling. Plus, it comes in handy against a deck similar to this deck. Obviously, this deck has monsters that can't be destroyed by battle, so Air Knight Patrol will be great to, you know, to guarantee them damages. You know, for example, you know, this thing has 2,000 defense. Obviously, you're not going to let it stay in defense. You'll use Air Knight's Patrol effect to put it in attack mode and then attack it. You know, deal 2,600 points of damage, right? Then your opponent's going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to switch it back to defense. End my turn. It's like, all right, I'm going to switch it back to attack and attack it. You're going to take another 26. Oh, I summon another monster. You're going to take damage from that monster too, you know what I mean? You know, I'm just going to keep taking advantage of these monsters that can't die by battle, right? You know, you could do the same with Marshmallow and even Red Signal. And that's the end of the deck profile.